Michelle off the Rubber Soul album. This was recorded on November 3rd, 1963. And a lot of this information I get about these Beatles songs is from the Beatles Bible, and I'll leave a link down in the description box below. That's really an invaluable resource for anything to do with Beatles stuff. It explains everything about the song, how it was written, how it was recorded, the whole process involved. Really, really cool stuff. Anyways, so we've got the capo on the 5th fret here, and that puts the song in F, okay? And normally when I do capo stuff, if it's, you know, all open chords, I'll just call that a C, call that an F, call that a G. But with this song, I'm not going to do that because half of it is bar chords, right? And I don't want to get it all confused. So that is an F. I'm going to call that an F, and I'm going to call that a B flat, okay? Those are the only 2 chords down there. The rest are up here. Okay, so we're going to start with this little descending pattern. And the way I think he plays that is, like, it slides in on that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th fret of the G string, and then an upstroke on the B and E string. And then we're going to drop that down and upstroke again. Okay, so I put my 3rd finger there on B4. Right? So we've got... That's what's happening with that G string, right? And we've just got those 2 notes the rest of the time. So we just have to change our fingers to make that happen. Right? And then we're going to get into this pattern here, where we're going to bar in the 1st fret, 3rd finger E3. That G string there is just by itself. And then we've got this. So we've got a couple little slides in there. Okay, and then the song starts. The song starts with this F chord, okay, with our little finger up here on E3. And the strumming is like down, down, up, down. Right, so we'll come out of this. And then we get into our next chord, and this chord is a crazy chord. There's been a lot written about this chord, and what the chord is, it's, you know, that would be normally an F, but I'm going to call it a B flat, right? It's a B flat 7 sharp 9, and it's like, you know, it's the Jimi Hendrix chord, right? It's that chord. Okay, so all we're doing there is making like an F-type shaped bar chord. Remember, this is a B flat though, right? And we're just going to bar those 2 strings with our little finger. 4th fret, B and E. Okay, and it's a real jazzy chord. And apparently Paul and George would hang out at this music store in England, and there was a guy that worked in there. It was like a jazz player, and they learned this chord from him. Okay, and they thought it was the coolest thing ever. And, you know, Paul was looking to get that into a song, right? So he put it into Michelle, right? Now, the problem with that chord is that it's incredibly dissonant, because what you've got here is you've got a major 3rd there, and then you've got a minor 3rd here. So, you know, you got that dissonance, right? And the problem is the vocal is when he sings my bell, he's singing that note, right? Which is the minor 3rd, but the chord has the major 3rd in it. So it really doesn't make any sense, you know. Like, it's going to sound a lot better if you went, Michelle, my belle, right? It sounds so much more musical, but that's not what they did, okay? They did this chord, so it's Michelle, my belle, right? It gives it that kind of crazy tension, right? But it's very subtle too, because, you know, in, I think, the left track, there's those 3-part harmonies, and that sort of takes over the song, you know. Like, the guitar, you don't even really hear that much, but when you do, you hear that crazy chord. Okay, so the first time is like this. I was able to find an isolated guitar thing, the guitar track for this song, and you can hear him go, pick out that melody line, right? So, okay, just there. Now we're going to go to this is actually an E flat 6, because we're going to bar to get this note. And again, he's going to pick out the melody. He's going to go, right, just that note and that note. B string, G string. So, and now we're going to get into this diminished chord. And we're going to start there, go up 3, go up 3 more, and then we go to a G. So that diminished chord is, you know, it's like that. It's the same shape, like that, right? But just with the 4 fingers. And then we go to a G. And the G, we don't need that in it. Okay, so it's just, we're muting the A string with that finger. And then we go back to the diminished chord there, and back to the G. So far we've got, and when we hit that G, the first time, it's on the on beat, right? And the second time, it's an upstroke on the off beat. So it's important to get that, because that'll really make a difference with how it meshes with the singing. Okay, and now the second time through, he plays it a little bit differently. So you'll notice he doesn't do that the second time, right? And, you know, when you watch him play this live nowadays, like, I don't think he ever does that. The other guy may do it, you know, the other guitar player. But Paul just kind of goes down there because he's trying to sing, right? He can't be jumping around. So let's do both of those sections back to back. Second section. There's a lot of subtleties, right? But I think it's important to, you know, get these things right. Anyways, so the next section we're going to be on an F minor. Okay, we all know that bar chord, right? And the pattern is like this. The strumming pattern is down, down, up, down. So we've got that, where we do that. And then we're going to go to this chord, which is a G sharp 7. It's like your C7, right? C7 shape. And we've got to mute this E string here, okay? And we've got to mute both E strings, this string too. Okay? And this is kind of a dangerous chord because if you don't mute that, you know, ooh, not good. And if you don't mute that, it's probably worse, right? So if you don't mute either of them, you've got a huge mess. So we have to hang our thumb over here, and we have to, you know, mute with that part of our finger or our palm on that E string. Okay, so we go from this, which is the F sharp or the F minor, G sharp 7, right? And then we're here, which is the C sharp major, same strum, go down a fret and make a 7th by taking your little finger off. So we've got a C7 now. Same strum, and then back to the F minor. So coming out of this, the second time, now we're back to the intro riff. Okay, and this time he kind of does a bunch of slides in there. Okay, and you know, I'm sure they played this different all the time, but in this particular version, you know, before the guitar solo, that's what they do there. Okay. And then it's just the guitar solo comes in. And we just go through that cycle a bunch of times, right? You know, I'm not sure the exact order of the verses, choruses, whatever, but because the demos I do, I try and compress them so that we cut down the repetition. But those are all the parts there. Okay? So let's just play the first two sections. Let's play the whole thing kind of slower, right? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Guitar solo. Which is the same thing. And like I said earlier, you know, you can do that or you can just hang on that one, right? Making sure you get that off on the when you go back to the G. Okay, so that's it for the rhythm part. So let's get into the guitar solo, and the guitar solo goes like this. Apparently George Martin wrote this part and played it on a keyboard in the background to help George. You know, he showed George the notes, then he played along with him but didn't record it. Okay, so we're going to start here on the 3rd fret of the A string, and we're just going to go, it's just like that formation of the major scale. So it's, right? Slide down to here. Okay, so I go little finger there, slide down to D1, and then we've got right? got here, third fret of the A, and then open A, A2, and then right open A, D1. So that whole thing so far, real slow. And then to lead into it, we're going to come down here. Right? And then we start again. Okay? And that's the solo. I mean, there's not much to the solo, but it's really, really cool. And the sound, like, I didn't bother getting out my electric to do that, but the sound, I just rolled back a bunch of tone on my tone control on the guitar and just added more bass just to get it that really kind of muffled sound, right? Okay, so that's about it for this one. And, you know, that's probably the coolest chord. Really, really interesting. And, you know, to be honest with you, I'm surprised that George Martin, you know, that he didn't say, hey, Paul, why don't you, you know, it's more musically correct, but, you know, probably that's one of the reasons the song is so cool, is because it's kind of a bit outside, right? And that was a cool thing of the Beatles. They were always experimenting and trying new things. Anyways, that's it. I hope you get something out of it. Hope you enjoy playing the song. And we'll talk to you next time.